Hi guys, Hari here doing another first-person VOD, or slightly first-person VOD, since this is actually a recording I'm making of a replay I played. Which actually brings me to my first question that I'm going to ask you guys today before I really get into this game. I'm going to start the timer now, but I just wanted to give that little bit of intro before I started it. Basically is, sometimes they're just games that I don't get recorded because I don't record all the time because it does affect my play. I do play at a slightly worse level when I'm playing at 30 frames per second than 120. So sometimes I just don't record because I'm lazy or greedy or whatever. But then there is occasionally a game that happens that would be interesting to commentate, but since I didn't record it, I don't end up showing it to you guys. In this case, it's actually going to be a Furion game, and I've had enough requests for a Furion game that I figured this one was worth showing to you guys, and as a kind of litmus test to see whether this bothers you or not. So the question will be that, and I would like an answer after the end of the video and you've seen everything, since I am going to be doing this from the first person perspective in the replay, but we'll see if it is still substantially different from when I actually record it firsthand using fraps while playing. Obviously I always commentate afterwards, but I mean just the actual video footage is from me playing rather than a replay. So yeah, just basically if this is significantly worse and you would prefer me to always do it of games that I record firsthand, or whether you guys don't really care and doing it just like this is fine because what you care most about is the commentary. So again, after you've watched the video, just please give me a heads up on that so that I can know how I should handle this going forward. And my other question real quick is basically how early into in a CM game. This is a CM with 5 of us, just a pub CM, not an in-house. I will try to get some in-houses for you guys. But how early into the banning and picking you guys want me to start recording, because there's a lot I can talk about I feel like in banning and picking, but it's also quite long, so I'm not sure if you guys would rather get into the game mechanics. I mean, this will probably be 6 or 7 minutes of talking just about the banning and picking, maybe not quite that long, but before I actually get into a game. So just kind of give me a heads up of how much of the banning and picking you would like to see and how much not. So our last ban here is tied. Basically we have first pick, so we're trying to bait out getting Furion first pick, which is going to be a very obvious thing for us to take. Normally I am the captain for my team. Here it's kind of a little bit more captain by committee, although I am taking usually a prominent role in the decision making here. Anyway, the reason why we banned Tide here and not Furion or Anti-Mage or Lycan is because we'd be perfectly happy taking Furion or Lycan as a first pick, and we expect the other team will probably ban one of them. There is the possibility that they could have maybe just banned Anti-Mage, and then we would be in the tough spot of having to take Furion or Lycan, which would be a little bit worse for us. But I guess we were just kind of hoping that they would ban the Lycan or the Furion, and we could just take the other one. In this case, we get the Furion. Either way, them getting the Anti-Mage is perfectly fine, because with Furion or Lycan, we can put in a pretty strong push, which kind of counteracts how effective Anti-Mage can be, which is based on the fact that they picked the Anti-Mage exactly what we're going to be going for. So that's why we follow up with the Leshrac Enchantress picks here. Holy actually had wanted to go Leshrac Shadow Shaman, which would have been reasonable instead of taking the Enchantress right away, because maybe it's a little less likely that they're going to take Enchantress. But if they ban Chen, there's a decent chance they would want to ban the Enchantress as well after they saw, Furion, Leshrac, Shadow Shaman. So getting that important jungle hero pusher is, I think, probably more influential for us trying to push. And it looks like they are going to go to Shadow Shaman. Shadow Shaman, obviously a good pusher, but also a good counter pusher. Aether Shock is good at nuking down creep waves, and his ultimate is good, for ganking and defending. Although generally you don't want to have to use it for defending, because if you throw it down in a tower, the opposing team is just going to back off and wait until the wards are dead and then come back in. But that is going to buy you some time, so it's really not the worst usage ever. So basically at this point, we have our jungle, we've got Leshrac. Now, with Leshrac, I would like to go with something like Sand King. I'd like to have maybe a Sand King Leshrac dual lane bottom with Enchantress in our jungle, and then the Furion mid or top. Well, if we'd been able to get the Shadow Shaman, I'd put the Furion in the sacrifice lane and then the Shadow Shaman mid, but we didn't get him. I mean, Pugna would still be a possibility here. Pugna, questionable effectiveness against a couple of their heroes, but not terrible. But our team actually would prefer, they're talking about how they want to go the Juggernaut strategy. Juggernaut, obviously a very good carry with a push team. Obviously, the healing ward being very strong with a large amount of creeps that Enchantress and Furion can bring. So I'm willing to accept this strategy. Which is proposed by King. And so if we're going to do that, we actually want to get rid of the kind of good initiators, specifically like Sand King and Enigma with their huge teamfight ults, which are very strong for turtling, which is also why we banned Tide, because it's very tough to push into a Tide team, because that ultimate is just so brutal if you have to actually push into it rather than trying to escape it. And on a push team, you usually don't have time to get up your BKBs, which is kind of a crucial item to avoid the getting ravaged, so to speak. And yeah, their picks are just Riki, or their bans are Riki and Dragon Knight. Obviously, they expect us to go for a push strategy, so Dragon Knight is a very reasonable ban. And the Riki, I mean, Riki's just very strong, and he's a counter to anti-mage, so it makes sense that they would want to take him out of there. And he comes online quite quickly, so he can work well with the push strategy. He's not so strong straight up pushing, but I mean, kind of with a gank push strategy, especially with Furion. I mean, you get that global presence with Furion Riki basically anywhere, ganking someone and then turning that into a push. And interestingly enough, Windrunner is actually still in the pool. I actually couldn't believe it when I realized that in the second banning pick phase, normally Windrunner is a hero I would expect to see, even at this level of play, which is kind of, you know, the amateur level. Banned or picked right away. In most of our games, that's the case, that she's either banned or first or second picked. But here, actually, she made it this late, so it's a pretty easy choice to just grab her for the side lane solo. She's not the most incredible pushing hero ever, but I mean, just having Windrunner on your team is always nice. Having such a long disable against anti-mage certainly doesn't hurt. And I mean, her power shot is good at nuking down waves, which you do need when you're pushing, so having her on the team won't hurt. And especially is just good for setting up our lanes if we're going to go for a Juggernaut, because then we can send Furion mid, which is probably the most optimal way to have Furion set up, even though it's the way that I'm probably least familiar with playing him, which we'll get into a little bit later. But anyway, I think there was one other thing. Oh yeah, the other reason the Enchantress pick was so important is because, you know, her, even if the game does progress a little bit later, the impetus is very strong against anti-mage. The pure damage going through his spell shield, obviously, and kind of giving us a decent presence against him for most of the game, even if we do have to kill him. Which, obviously, there's really two ways to approach playing against an anti-mage. One is to try to kill them or kind of counter them, which is something you do with like Shadow Demon, Riki, Enchantress, Obsidian Destroyer, etc. The other school of thought is just to basically ignore the fact that an anti-mage is on the other team, accept that he's going to farm, but just take towers and push the game before he can actually become a factor, which is what we're going to go for. Here they actually take Ancient Apparition, which actually should be a reason for us not to pick the Juggernaut at this point. It's possible that they anticipate our Juggernaut pick, but basically the strength of the Juggernaut in the push lineup is the Healing Ward, and the Ancient Apparition ult is actually going to completely negate that effectiveness. So I would be more happy to take some sort of another carry at this point, but I didn't really think too hard on it at the time. It's more of a hindsight is 2020 situation. In a pushing lineup, something like Skeleton King would normally be very good, but he's very weak against anti-mage. But I'm sure I could have thought of something else that I would have liked to run in this situation. Some sort of maybe a dual stun lane with Leshrac. The problem is, I mean, Leshrac Juggernaut is really not a strong lane at all. I mean, trying to hit a Leshrac stun into a Juggernaut spin isn't really going to be a very effective idea. But it shouldn't matter too much, because Leshrac is just going to go for early Edict, and you're going to push the towers basically once Enchantress gets 2 creeps and just comes out of the woods. So it shouldn't be too difficult anyway, and it shouldn't really matter that much how effective the lane is, because you're going to go past the laning stage very quickly with this lineup. Also, so I wanted to talk about, I think the other team should have taken, instead of that Shadow Demon, the Windrunner. I mean, I guess they're very confident in their Shadow Demon play. Plus, Shadow Demon is actually a very nice combination with the Anti-Mage. I mean, Shadow Demon counters the Anti-Mage well, but he can also work well with the Anti-Mage, because if you can Disruption the Anti-Mage, and then get 2 additional copies of him, all of them burning mana, especially once you have the Manta plus Disruption on Anti-Mage, you're going to make 4 copies of him, which is just going to basically rain hell down on the opposing team. And actually, Queen of Pain is going to be their last pick. This makes sense just because I guess they needed some sort of a solo side lane, which means that the Shadow Demon is probably going to be in a support role here. I mean, it's possible, maybe if I was them, knowing, I don't know, knowing I was going up against Furion, maybe I would dual lane mid. It's tough to say. You could put the Anti-Mage Shadow Shaman mid, and then put Rasta top with Ancient Apparition kind of stacking and pulling and just harassing the Windrunner back, and then the Queen of Pain bottom. This might be strong, but I think they're just going to tri-lane the Anti-Mage instead, which should be obviously strong as well, which will make him farm a bit better, but in turn will mean that there's a more even lane in the middle. Although Rasta should certainly beat a Furion. I think Furion has a better attack animation than Rasta by a little bit. Furion actually with a very good attack animation, but obviously Rasta actually has some sort of a spell that you can use in the lane, whereas Furion has nothing. So anyway, I'm just going to set this camera to, not free camera, but player's perspective, and I'm going to set it to my perspective, I think, which I can just do like this. Yeah. Okay, so actually this doesn't even have my mouse, so that's going to be quite nice. And yeah, we're going to be able to watch from my perspective the entire time. So it's a little bit unusual. I guess I'm not so used to watching from my perspective while in game. I think I'm just looking around, clicking on things at this point. I went level 1 teleportation since I'm planning on going mid. I'm going to establish that I'm basically not very comfortable going mid interfering because I don't do it very often. Usually I'm in the jungle or sacrifice lane because usually there's a hero that needs to be mid more. So we're going to kind of see one problem with that. Anyway, as far as my items go, I'm going to go 2 gauntlets. Double Gauntlet is usually a very bad item choice on intelligence heroes early on because it's, I mean, I'm going to go into the lane, yeah, I have +9 strength, but it doesn't really do anything. It's going to make it harder for them to kill me, but I'm not really worried about that. I'm more worried about getting last hits, denies, etc. So I would rather have just a higher base damage, which I'm going to gain through intelligence, and obviously mana regeneration, which I'm going to gain through intelligence. So I am going to go through the 3 branches as well, but the reason why I do go to the Double Gauntlet here is because I plan on going a very fast earn, which I can use to then bolster my ganking abilities from teleporting around the map. So that, I think the only reason I would ever go dual gauntlet is if I was going fast earn, which is the case here. So I'm, yeah, like I said, level 1 teleportation, just so I can teleport around and gank, or I could teleport to a rune or something like this. If I was in a side lane or in the jungle, obviously I would go level 1 Nature's Call first. Nature's Call not going to do a lot mid. So now I'm just going to try to block here, but actually fail really... no, I don't actually fail as badly as I thought I did. And yeah, let's actually close this and start to talk about what's going on here. So yeah, I get a nice block and the opposing person doesn't, and actually there's a ward up on the high ground there, which is going to be nice as well. Make it a little bit easier for me to stay in this lane. Actually kind of messing up a last hit there, unfortunately. I haven't actually played Furion in a little while before this game because I've mostly been playing in-houses. And Furion is always banned, so it's going to take maybe just a couple of last hits to get used to his animation, which, like I said, is quite stellar. Not really going to worry about harassing the opposing hero too much. And actually, yeah, our Windrunner did a bad job top. He actually forgot that he had a ward to place. At the pole spawn, we gave the sacrifice lane 2 wards so that he can ward the pole spawn earlier on, so that he isn't going to get pulled. But he was sleeping, and so didn't go get that, which is kind of unfortunate. But anyway, yeah, as you can see, I don't bring a lot of regen, so I don't really want to get into an harassment war with the Rasta if possible. I'd rather just let him, or I'd rather just have both of us farming. Yeah, unfortunate uphill miss there on the deny. I mean, in a situation like that, I was able to get a couple of harasses off just because he opened himself up to it, so I'm going to take it when I can. But in general, I would rather just, you know, farm as much as possible because, like I said, I feel like I have a better attack animation and just get my levels, which is why I'm in the mid anyway. So as far as my skill build goes, it's completely incorrect. Going solo mid, I should go on level 1 teleportation is fine, or maybe even level 1 sprout. But I should go sprout and teleportation at levels 1 and 2 so that I could actually teleport around and gank. But I didn't do that. I went Nature's Call, which I'm used to doing from a side lane. I mean, obviously I'm going to need Nature's Call for when I teleport and gank because I want to push afterwards, but getting the sprout first is just more important because I actually need that to set up the ganks. And then I go another level of teleportation, which is again fine because I'm going mid to gank. But really, as what my skill build should be probably is teleportation level 1, sprout level 2, and then Nature's Call level 3, and then max teleportation from there. But instead I kind of just did it wrong, like I said, due to unfamiliarity with playing this role with this hero. And another uphill miss on deny, so yeah, just not my lucky day, but getting punished for making poor decisions with my skill build, what can I say? So I should have about enough to finish up my urn soon here, which is what I would like to do. The sooner I have it up, the sooner I can worry about ganking, but I guess I need Sprout first, and there's level 4, so that is going to give me Sprout, which means I should start ganking basically as soon as possible. The only problem with worrying about ganking, with being in a ganking role with a Furion mid, is that if I do leave mid for too long, this Rasta is just going to be able to push and take this mid tower, which I don't really like so much. So I really do need to get these ganks sooner rather than later. And also, if you'll see, I can kind of note, I mean, it's pretty easy since this guy really telegraphs. Yeah, I'm going to buy my Aaron now and send it to myself. This guy really does telegraph when he wants to, you know, use his Aether Shock on multiple creeps. So whenever he does that, I am just moving to the side so that it doesn't hit me. Obviously, when the guy starts hitting down multiple creeps to half health, it's pretty obvious what's coming next. But yeah, anyway, in general, I'm just going to stay back at a reasonable range. Yeah, actually, getting hit by the Aether Shock there just after I talked about dodging it. My urn does come, and yeah, obviously being a little bit careful, staying back to get the urn. I'm going to put it in spacebar for now. I guess you can't see my hotkeys now, but they're the same as usual. And actually, I see that mana regen on him, so I want to get rid of that. So I'm actually going to tank the creeps a little bit here. Kind of just poor reaction by me. I should have hit him when he ran up the other time, but like I said, I was trying to avoid getting Aether Shock, which I did successfully do, but unfortunately that meant his mana, his clarity ran a little bit longer. I'm going to dispel it there, and actually I think there was a fortunate uphill miss on the opposing creeps, which actually allowed me to deny that. So it all ends up even in the end, right? You just remember the bad ones more than the good ones. Yeah. Throat's a little sore today. Have a drink of water. Now the one thing I'm not doing at this point, actually is controlling the runes, which I should be doing. Obviously, it's very easy with teleport on Furion. The problem is we only actually have one ward up on the map right now, so it's a little bit risky to just teleport straight to a rune because, well, basically there could be anyone coming to kill me at any point. And I don't know, the runes aren't going to be that effective since we're kind of just sitting in our lanes for now and trying to get an opening to push. Enchantress actually is going to, looks like, come, and there's actually another clarity up on him, which I'm going to quickly dispel. Enchantress should, I guess, be coming mid to gank at this point, since the bottom lane, unfortunately, they pushed a little bit too much to get a gank there. So I would assume that he would take a strong creep from the jungle and then loop around from the bottom, basically come up from the bottom there. And actually, yeah, our Windrunner is just in some sort of ridiculous position. I didn't see exactly how that started, but I mean, there's no way I'm TPing into their jungle like this, especially when the Rasta moves back. I'm just telling them, yeah, basically, don't be stupid, and get into a better position, don't die, etc. I'm just going to stick here farming. I could actually make trees up and try to push the lane, but I doubt that he's going to delay them for that long, that's really going to be a possibility. I can actually, yeah, see that it's kind of happening now. He actually is going to pick a regen rune, but I think he's still going to die there. I would have to assume, yeah, and he is going to die. Again, maybe I could have TP'd once he got to that point, but it's kind of just a situation like, I don't know, don't get yourself in that situation in the first place. Don't put yourself in that position in the first place. Yeah, so maybe it's like classical conditioning, we would say, I guess, trying to discourage them from doing stupid things. Looks like they want to push mid, which is why I do throw out my ult. Obviously, I'm not going to use my ult constantly because I don't want to steal farm from my team, but if it looks like they're going to push, or if we want to push, then I'm going to go for it. I'm going to sprout up this Ancient Apparition here because he is in range of the trees, and I want to make sure I move out of the cold feet quickly enough. And actually, yeah, the Enchantress does manage to kill him, so that just shows, I mean, even in a situation like that where they dive me, I know that they just don't really have enough damage to immediately kill me. And I actually am on pretty high health now, thanks to the fast earn at 800, so that I could easily not be too worried about the burst damage coming out and sprout that Ancient Apparition up, knowing that I can still run away in time. Although, actually, to be honest, I wasn't certain that I would be able to get away in that situation from the cold feet, because I don't have boots yet, so not really 100%. Anyway, it looks like they're going to try to push this tower down here bottom. I actually didn't probably really need to come to try to push this as well, but why not? Nothing else to do, right? And so we do take it. Looks like the Queen of Pain wants to kind of maybe do something, but yeah. Decides to back off instead, and then I realized why. There's actually a Shadow Demon who came around behind us with haste. Obviously not really anything I can do about that right now. I do have 1,800 gold, so it's probably ideal for me to go finish off some items. So yeah, I'm just going to head over to the shop here. My TP is back up on cooldown. Obviously, like I said, since I'm, I mean, well, basically for most Furions, unless you're going straight farming, you should get max TP first, because it's, I mean, that and Windrunner Shackle Shots are definitely the two most imbalanced level or non-ultimate abilities in the game. Anyway, we're going to go in for a gank here. We have 3 people, so I'm going to throw the Sprout up. I tried to Sprout 2 there. I was hoping to catch both of them, but it looks like we are just going to catch the Shadow Shaman. Unfortunately, the stun misses from the Leshrac. I do have my Urn charges up now, though, so I am just going to try to earn him. I should go for the hit, but I figured that the Urn will be enough to kill him. But then he actually, intelligently enough, uses a health potion, which is going to keep him alive. So that was kind of my fault there. I should have just gone for one more hit on him, and I didn't. Anyway, I just finished up Treads. Going Treads isn't necessary that early on, but against an Ancient Apparition who has that cold feet, I want to have the movement speed to get out, so I just got the Treads anyway. Just it's going to increase my damage, make pushing a little bit easier. I'm going to Nature's Call up here as we do try to push down this tower with Edict, and do fortunately get the last hit. They don't manage to get the deny there. Slow coming out on the Ancient Apparition. Queen of Pain ult does fly in, but doesn't really do too much. I think I guess it hit our 2 other people, but Wisps are going to be up, and we're just going to put a little more pressure on this tower while we can, while my trees are still up, and then back off, because obviously we're all quite low on mana, and there's not really a lot else we can do. And yeah, I'm just going to TP back to base now. Other than that, I bought up a magic stick when I'm bottom. I mean, magic stick is core on basically every hero, so I'm going to turn into a magic wand here. Unfortunately, you can't actually see what I'm doing in the shop from my perspective, I guess, but oh well, it's not the worst thing ever. I get up my Basilius as well. I know the Enchantress has a Basilius, but I mean, it can't hurt, and basically core on Furion, since I'm probably going to be in other position, like split pushing other lanes constantly anyway, so I won't necessarily be with their Basilius. It's pretty important to always have a Basilius. Going Urn is just kind of important, since Furion, you know, with going max DP, I'm basically always going to be wherever they are with the ganks, so I'm always going to be getting those Urn charges. So anyway, we just kind of want to come push this tower now. Holy, actually, on the Enchantress is going to try going behind the tower to get a gank on the Anti-Mage, which is actually going to put her out of position. She should just be pushing the creep wave with us. I mean, there's no reason to go there when, you know, you're up against an Anti-Mage. You're not really going to catch him. Nice Shackle Shot there within the Sprout. Actually hit the other tree. I throw out my ult just to do as much damage as I can, but I'm backing up. I mean, we can't go past these wards now, so it would just be a bad spot. I do throw out my Urn Charge, and I'm going to throw a couple right clicks on the Shadow Demon. Hopefully the Urn Charge will be enough to get the kill on him. We'll see if he does end up dying. Yeah, he does. But the Queen of Pain's going to come in now, and yeah, they're all basically going to be coming in. I'm going to try to burst down the, well, not really burst down, but right-click down this Queen of Pain as much as possible. I should switch targets to the Ancient Apparition. I want to throw out an Urn Charge on him, and I'm going to. Just basically doing as much as I can. I acknowledge the fact that I'm probably going to die here. Maybe I could have got out, but I was trying to help my team and do as much as possible. But yeah, right now I'm kind of pinging, showing the Enchantress why she shouldn't have done what she did. I mean, you're in a pushing team. You don't really need... I mean, going for a gank first is fine, but you kind of have to know who you're up against. First of all, I mean, maybe if you... Just maybe, if you had the Forest Troll creep, it would be fine to try to loop around behind and gank the Anti-Mage. But otherwise, just come push the tower. Just take the tower. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no reason to have to get a gank when you can actually just take the tower. You know, I mean, we have a Leshrac, we have an Enchantress with a creep, we have a Furion. It's very easy for us just to walk in and take towers. So I'm actually going to have to start considering my next item in a little bit here, but I'm not really sure what it is because I planned on having the Windrunner go mech, which means I probably would have just gone fast Hex, but the Windrunner actually got extremely bad farm top because of some early mistakes, so she's not going to have the mech for quite some time. But speaking of pushing towers, now we actually are going to do this correctly. I am not going to be foolish enough to keep diving past them. The Shackle Shot doesn't latch. Maybe if the Shackle Shot had latched, there'd be a chance of us doing something there, but it doesn't, so that's just going to be how it goes this time. I throw my ult to counter push out the bottom a little bit because I see the Queen of Pain pushing in there. Obviously, if I kill the creeps, she'll have a much more difficult time actually dealing damage to that tower while we continue pushing top. I am maxing Nature's Call second. Obviously, past 1 point of Sprout really isn't that important. You get a long enough duration with the first point that it's not that necessary, and getting more trees to push towers with is going to be more important. Leshrac's Edict is going to be up. I should, yeah, be sending all my trees to attack the tower now. Leshrac throwing out a rather interesting stun there, not really sure exactly what he was hoping to stun. I'm going to throw out a Sprout. Unfortunately, the Sprout, yeah, it was on the TP in, so I just wanted to make sure that I stopped the TP. I didn't realize there was a Queen of Pain. I should have checked the color. And it looks like, yeah, they actually are going to come on us now. I earned myself, but unfortunately the AoE Anti-Mage ult is going to dispel that from me. But Anti-Mage actually is going to die. Holy now wants to actually go past, but I mean, there are wards right there, so there's no way I'm going to dive past and try to kill that person. I should have actually sprouted him when he ran out a little bit, but I was really concerned about getting to those wards, not being a very good idea. Obviously, you should never dive past wards, but I should have used Sprout there. But anyway, that's going to be that, and I'm just going to TP bottom. So, I mean, we took the tower. Holy, once again, is just playing too aggressive. I mean, he kind of does this in general. It's kind of his play style or whatever, and I mean, he's generally happy with it, but in some situations, it's just not very effective. And when you're going with a push team and you're Enchantress, who is quite a squishy hero, it's probably not the best plan ever. So I just earn myself up because I have a couple spare charges. I always want to make sure that I, when possible, keep at least one earn charge. So that I can use it offensively in team fights or in ganks, but I have a couple here, so it's safe for me to use an Urn Charge on myself. Looks like there was a little pressure mid. I'm just going to ideally push this lane out just a little bit before I actually do head mid. I sprout up one set of trees, or call up one set of trees. I'm going to send the trees on attack move top, and then I probably want to just TP mid. It's a little bit risky to be basically past the river here, so I'm kind of going to be risking my life. I mean, they have two blink heroes, basically. Which could be problematic for me. Yeah, and I actually do move back up, so I really should have been out of here by now. Cold Feet's going to come up. As soon as I get the Cold Feet off me, basically, though, I know they have no stun left. I'm going to earn myself, actually, just to be a little bit safer, and I'm going to try to TP out here. The Ancient Apparition, I'm not sure. I guess he just must not have his ult yet, I would assume, because he could have probably thrown his ult there and killed me, but since he didn't have the ult, it was safe for me to TP. Which is why I earned myself, because in case he had the ult, I wanted to get as much healed as possible before he... You see that attack flying in there before he did ult me, on the off chance that it would allow me to survive. But yeah, basically in a situation like that, I just know that I move out of the only stun they have and then run away. So I do pick up the mech now because I know that the Windrunner isn't going to be getting it anytime soon, and we're going to certainly need the mech for pushing. Unfortunately, it's going to be kind of countered, and I probably should have just gone for fast pipe because we're up against this, another stun not hitting anything there, because we're up against, this Ancient Apparition. Anyway, I'm kind of caught here now, unfortunately. There's really nothing I can do about it because getting shackled, and the Leshrac didn't have a stun because, well, he kind of stunned nothing a little bit earlier. So that is just going to be a quick death for me, which is kind of unfortunate. I guess I was a little bit out of position, but I expected to have some sort of backup. I mean, we should basically just be grouped up and trying to push. The problem was that the AA ult, it kind of forced us back. Leshrac, although now in a kind of precarious position, unfortunately isn't going to be able to get a stun now because he's going to get Mana Ward and actually just going to die. Impetus 1 out on the Anti-Mage, it's not going to be enough to kill him, and so, yeah. We did end up getting a tower, but unfortunately it was denied, so that's not so great. But we have taken almost all of their towers, and we still have all our tier 1s. So, I mean, we're doing what we're supposed to do, which is pushing. We just kind of need to be a little bit more careful, I guess, and position, I guess, a little bit better against the AA ult, which is really kind of our bane. So, like I said, yeah, probably should have gone pipe first, since the mech isn't going to be so effective against the AA ult anyway, which already counters so much of our healing with, you know, the healing ward and the sprites from the Enchantress. In theory, I should have my treads on agility here, but I mean not on agility, on intelligence, just to deal more damage when last hitting these creeps. But I'm just so worried about, you know, AA ults and Queen of Pain blinking in that I'd rather just have the health and be a little more safe, and maybe miss 1 or 2 more last hits. And speaking of AA ults, there's actually going to be one flying in now, which obviously I don't see, but then does miss me just there. Anti-mage is going to come in on me, so what I want to do here is I want to sprout myself and then try TPing out. So as soon as they both blink there, I'm going to sprout and try TPing out. He actually does have hatchet, so he's able to break through the trees. Obviously, normally I'm sprouting myself so they don't have vision of me, and then just TPing. The Shadow Demon actually was a little bit slow getting in there, so he wasn't able to do disruption, but the anti-mage would have been able to ult me. You see there, I actually throw my ult up top because I want it to bounce down and hit these heroes bottom. I expect my team to be going sometime soon here because they were all in position, but I guess they just stopped for a little bit. So I am going to try TPing and catching this Shadow Shaman, and I actually do manage to catch him with the Sprout here. Anti-Mage is still here, and I'm way far ahead of my team, but I expect the backup to be coming. You can see I'm kind of moving back a little bit to play passively. The impetus is going to finish off the Shadow Shaman there, and actually a nice spin from the Juggernaut's going to be doing a lot of damage with the stun from the Leshrac. That's nice. I should throw out an Urn Charge now, but I guess it doesn't really matter too much. AA ult is going to fly in and basically just hit all of us, which is just so brutal. And then, yeah, Holy taking damage from the tower. The Queen of Pain ult actually not hitting anything, so at least that's good. I basically just have to wait up to be able to mech until the AA ult ran off. Actually, yeah, I think I threw the mech out right before the AA ult hit that fight. I think I remember that. Leshrac, interestingly enough, we're just running around with Cold Feet on, maybe not understanding the mechanic, I'm not really sure. I try to sprout them just to keep them off, and actually a great shackle shot is going to latch the two heroes, even despite the sprout, and I'm just going to hit the Ancient Apparition a couple more times. I'm finally using an Urge Charge there. Not being super effective with that, but again, I don't go solo mid fearing that much, so I don't necessarily always get the Urn. Actually, a nice stun there, and then the shackle shot. I kind of just want to back off here. I don't want to be playing too aggressively. And yeah, the Ancient Apparition ult is going to come in and hit a couple of us, so basically I just want to not die here. But I guess, I don't know, I'm resigning myself to getting this kill. If I just throw an Urn Charge out on him, oh, and the Disruption comes out. My ult is still on cooldown for 5 seconds, so I can't use that just yet. Purge is out of me, so I know basically I'm dead here. I'm going to use my mech and stick charges to survive as long as possible. I'm looking somewhere else, and now basically, yeah, just trying to click my ult before I die, and it actually is going to bounce around and hit the Ancient Apparition. I probably could have thrown an Urn Charge out there on the Shadow Shaman as well, but it didn't really work out. Looks like, yeah, Juggernaut actually is just going to ult this Anti-Mage. I guess Anti-Mage must have blinked, or maybe Juggernaut checked his mana. I think, yeah, we checked the Anti-Mage's mana there, and that was enough to get the kill. Now the Disruption coming out on the Shadow Demon himself, Holy does slow the correct copy of him and is going to throw Impetuses out. Unfortunately, Holy's going to be a little bit of trouble here, but his level 4 heal, he has maxed that correctly, is going to keep him alive. So I'll be up in 8 seconds, and I will be able to TP back in, and hopefully we'll be able to take this last tier 2 tower. The AA ult is going to fly in, and it's just so painful, especially with the healing. Holy may be dead here, it's tough to say. We'll see if he survives. Oh, just barely. So I am going to TP in, and then I should be able to earn and mech him as soon as I get here. Hopefully I'll notice to do that. Come on, Hari. Heal your teammate. Well, I guess the healing ward is healing him, so that's why I figured, it doesn't matter. And then I use the mech anyway, because, well, why not? The slow is going to come in on the Shadow Shaman. We really shouldn't be diving this deep. Without pickoffs, we really don't want to be going this far into their base. I do sprout him in there, which ends up not being so necessary. I thought it would be good to sprout him next to the Juggernaut, but unfortunately that kind of caught the Juggernaut after the spin was over. Anti-Mage actually ulting one of my creeps, so not so impressive targeting from him there. I do have Sprout, ult, and basically everything up, but instead I'm just going to decide to run past. I mean, I acknowledge that we're in too deep here. I didn't want to be in this place in the first place. I'm just going to try to TP out, but I assume the Disruption is going to come. But actually, no, I do manage to get the TP out and survive. So yeah, maybe not the most effective use of my abilities. It is kind of maybe one of my weaknesses as a player is that when I consider that my team is overplaying or making mistakes, I'm maybe less likely to want to help out and just kind of get a slightly more defeatist attitude. Just saying, you know, we shouldn't have been there, so this should, I mean, the reason this is happening is because we're in a bad spot that we shouldn't be. Again, just that whole classical conditioning thing. So I do have my ult here, and I actually want to help get the kill on this Ancient Apparition. Windrunner using the Courier as bait and combine the power shot with my ult is able to get an easy kill. So you can see, I think I tried to explain it earlier, but I will continue. When when I throw out my ult and I want to do damage somewhere, I want to throw it to the furthest away lane, basically, because the ult gains damage as it bounces. So if I want to deal damage to a fight in the bottom lane, I'm going to try to target my ult on the minimap in the top lane, so that it hits those creeps first, then the ones in the mid, and then eventually gets to the bottom and does as much damage as possible down here. You never want to use it the closer you are. Now, obviously, in this last time when I died, I did use it next to me, but that's basically just because I wanted to use it as quickly as possible since I was going to die. I figured if I got it off anyway, it would be enough to get the kill. Yeah, the anti-mage here, I'm kind of hanging around. I don't really want to feed him the trees. The trees don't really give a lot of gold or experience, though, so it's not that big of a deal. And actually, yeah, the AA ult is going to fly and hit me, so now I definitely want to back up because I do not want this anti-mage going on me, and this means I'm going to completely lose my tree micro. I'm just going to kind of hide out in the woods here and hope they don't come to check for me. With that Shadow Demon there, I would be in quite a bit of trouble if they did decide to come for me. And looks like the Shadow Demon is coming in here, but he actually doesn't see me. I've done a good enough job hiding. And so now I'm going to sprout him up because my team is actually coming in. I try to throw out the ult there, but it actually gets cancelled by the disruption, so hopefully I can maybe do it again sometime soon here. I have the mech, so it's going to be quite difficult for them to actually kill me. I use my mech and pipe, but I'm actually blocked in by the copies from the Shadow Demon, so unfortunately that is going to be a one-for-one trade. That should be a general lesson. When playing against Shadow Demon, avoid putting yourself next to natural barriers. Leshrac is actually in an interesting position. I guess he thought that the fight would go a little bit better than it did, and so he was kind of a little bit too far up. Queen of Pain ult is actually going to be dodged, and an amazing shackle shot from the Windrunner is going to allow them to pick up 2 kills there. So a great play by the Windrunner there to actually save the Leshrac, who'd kind of been in a questionable position, and is actually going to, the Windrunner actually going to force staff him out of there. Windrunner having her 4-staff up being nice. But yeah, so I think there was something I want to say. Oh yeah, when playing against Shadow Demon, avoid standing next to natural barriers, because you can almost be guaranteed that when those illusions pop out, they're going to block you in. This is always what happens. Anyway, I see these creeps pushing mid, so I basically just want to TP there as quickly as possible. You can see I picked up my ultimate orb. It's because I plan on going for Hex. But actually, yeah, I'm going to cancel my TP because I want to go on this Rasa. The Leshrac did get a pretty nice ward up here, which is going to give us vision. I'm going to TP, and I shift move, I think, or no, not actually. And I'm going to sprout him. 2 levels in sprout, so that's going to hold him for a little while. Unfortunately, he's going to try TPing, but a nice shackle shot from the Windrunner is actually going to catch him. We'd like to use this to push in, because this is basically what we need to do. Get a kill, and then turn that into a push. Unfortunately, basically all the lanes are a little bit too far pushed out, so it's going to be difficult for us. In theory, we should just push this lane back, and then probably go take Roche would be the best time for that right now. Even if we don't necessarily have an extreme damage dealer against Roche, with all my creeps and everything, it's pretty easy for us to tank it up. Looks like, yeah, I'm just gonna, we all get hit by the AA ult again. And interestingly enough, the Enchantress uses her heal, which obviously doesn't do anything with the AA ult up. But now that the AA ult is off, the heal is going to work, so. And then I throw out the mech, again, just because I'm happy to be able to use it anytime I can. But not the most amazing item choice. Generally speaking, you want to go for mech when you're playing Furion, if you can get it quickly, just because the faster your team can get a mech, the better. And since I was going in the kind of TP everywhere, gank, support, push roll, mech is going to be strong, but again, the mech hasn't been so great because of the AA ult on the other team, which was a very nice pick by them. Anyway, so I do want to take Roche now, but I know in order for us to take Roche, I need to get these lanes pushed up. Obviously, with the nicely placed ward on the bottom lane, we will have pretty safe coverage there, but so the important thing here is going to be making sure we have this mid lane pushed up. They actually just used the AA ult to scout Roche and did not see us there, so this will be the perfect time for us to go take it, because we know we have 40 seconds with no AA ult. So going to send my trees in and have them tank Roche, obviously, and then we're just going to basically right-click him down, take him, and hope to get an Aegis up, which will make it a little bit easier for us to push in. So we're not just going to brute force push in, we're more likely going to, again, try to look for an opening gank. You can see that good wards placed again by the Leshrac, that one up top and the one at the bottom gives us good vision if they come out. Actually, I can see now on the map what I couldn't actually see in the game, which is the Queen of Pain is waiting to gank us. But I probably shouldn't say anything about stuff like this because it's not relevant. But anyway, we realized that we were going to cut this one really close. Queen of Pain actually, yeah, blinking in, but we managed to get out just in time. Basically wanted to do that as quickly as possible. Again, I'm just kind of playing back. You always want to be careful of your positioning. Saw the anti-mage had kind of run up on one of my teammates, so I throw out the Sprout there, just forcing him to blink away. And because he blinked away, Juggernaut actually is able to pick up the kill on him. They're going to throw up their wards defensively, so we should just be backing out now. There's really no reason for us to be staying in. You can see I'm standing all the way back here. My team, however, is, for whatever reason, still standing in there tanking hits from the wards, which is not something that they should be doing. And then, yeah, the Windrunner tries to force staff the Enchantress out, but actually just ends up force staffing the Enchantress back in, and then the Windrunner's just going to die to a combination of Aether Shock and Soul Catcher. So, I don't know. We took Roche and got a kill on the Anti-Mage and Queen of Pain, so that wasn't a terrible fight. But just, I don't know. People just need to work on their positioning. You can see, especially on Furion, who's someone with a long range attack and not a lot of necessarily offensive spells, it's very easy to want to play back. But generally speaking, this is what you should do with most heroes who aren't, heroes who should be running in the front, which is generally most heroes. Especially when the opposing team has roster wards up. There's really just no reason to run in there and tank them. Like I was talking about earlier on, if the other team throws up the wards, you can just back out. Which is generally speaking what we should do. Although I will make a mistake in that regard a little bit later. Or maybe I have already made it, I'm not really 100%. Another A, old gunfly, and God, just being so annoying. So I am going to TP out because I realize I am pretty close up. I mean, this ward will give me vision, but anti-mage can blink from a long distance and cancel my TP, so I really don't want to risk it. Although I guess the anti-mage actually is mid, but still. Just going to work, again, towards getting my Hex. The sooner I have my Hex, the sooner we can actually try to get a gank on this anti-mage. Basically, yeah, I'm not saying that they should gank him, but I'm just saying, like, there's no reason for them to let the anti-mage farm that far up. If he's that far up, they should just go harass him basically out of the lane. Not, like, typical harassment, but just basically by running up, he's going to have to back off because he's going to be too scared. And actually, yeah, again, this nice ward placement by Leshrac is giving us vision. I'm pinging exactly where I know he's going to be going, or where I assume he's going to be going. Yeah, we could actually tell from the ward there that he did not head into that camp, that he's more likely heading top. And then there we actually see that he's continuing back. So there's no way we can catch him there, so I'm just going to TP to this top lane and try to push it in. Maybe not the best timing. My team actually probably could have taken his top lane, and I probably should have TP'd bottom instead. But since I realize that that's pushed up, as soon as I see her back at the tower, I should probably throw out my ult to try to push them back a little bit in the bottom. Again, like I said, not spamming my ult every time I can, but just using it selectively when there are things getting pushed. But then I see that the Windrunner actually has done a good job in TP'd bottom, so I actually don't need to use my ult so much, and I can just save it for, I guess, when it's more important. Juggernaut, not really too far forward. He's in probably a fine position there. The other team's, the Dire's unlikely to want to move up like that, up that hill without necessarily having vision. I TP mid because I see the anti-mage pushing in here. Unfortunately, the Queen of Pain is here as well, so I'm kind of in trouble. So I'm basically calling for TPs at this point. I sprout myself so that they can't keep going on me, but the anti-mage does just eat down tree and then try to hit me. I guess he assumed I was TPing there, which is why he used Assault right away. I used my stick charges and my mech to try to keep us alive, and the Leshrac has finally come in here. That combined with the Juggernaut does allow us to get a kill on the Queen of Pain, and we are going to kind of chase after the anti-mage here, but I guess it's not the best decision ever. Whew, just barely the AA ult missing. Nice shackle shot from the Windrunner, but I still don't think we're going to have enough. I throw up the Urn Charge on him just in case, and wow, actually we barely do just have enough burst damage there to take down the anti-mage. So that was another nice pickup. And yeah, now the heals are going to come out, and we should be able to turn this into at least a little bit of push. We still have the Aegis. I'm just going to get up my trees and use them to try to push down this tower. I mean, we don't really expect to be able to destroy the tower, but with two of them down, we should be able to at least do some damage to the tower with Edict and our creeps. So yeah, Leshrac runs in, throws out the Edict, and just have the creeps tanking up the tower and dealing damage to it. They throw up the wards here. Yeah, this is actually where I make the mistake. I'm saying we should right-click the wards down. I know that we have a little bit of time left, but yeah, basically the Soul Catcher and Nuke combo is just going to completely melt the Leshrac right away, and this is absolutely my fault. Really nice shackle shot from the Windrunner is actually going to maybe encourage them to turn back around, which is not something I'm so sure they should be doing. I do throw out the Urn Charge there, but I actually click it on the wrong hero. I try meching. I'm not really sure if mech does go through Disruption, which I guess I learned that it doesn't. I wasn't really positive, so there was only one way to find out. But yeah, mech does not go through the Disruption, and now I'm basically just going to TP out. Unfortunately, the Juggernaut is going to get chased after. I had actually TP'd bottom to try to push this up, and that's basically what I'm going to do. There's really no reason for me to go help the Juggernaut. There's not really any abilities that I have. My mech is on cooldown. There's not anything I'm going to be able to do to help him. He runs into Roche, I guess, for whatever reason. Maybe if he kept running, he actually might have survived. I throw up my ult to try to help out there. Doing some damage. I thought it might be enough to get the Queen of Pain. Unfortunately, my ult placement, I probably should have placed it top instead of in its bottom lane. Maybe it would have been a little bit better then. And yeah, they're just going to keep going after him. My mech is still off cooldown, so basically I just have no relevant abilities. There's TPing in there still wouldn't do anything, and there's no reason for me to have done it. I mean, maybe if I TP'd in, I could have scared them off because of the idea of having someone else come in, but more likely than not, it would just actually lead to them getting another kill, which is not something I would like to do. One of the most important things in playing this game is not letting one mistake turn into multiple mistakes. Now, this was originally my mistake, so this wasn't necessarily the whole conditioning thing for my team, because I said we should stay in and click the roster wards down. I really just thought that would be our opening. I mean, you know, you are kind of playing against the clock when you're playing a push strategy against anti-mage. And I thought that would be our opening, having killed the anti-mage and the Queen of Pain, but unfortunately, the Queen of Pain just came in a little too quickly. Nice shackle shot again from the Windrunner. I sprouted to try to give her something to latch into, but it didn't really matter. She's latching these shackle shots anyway. The Windrunner has actually played really poorly in the beginning, forgetting to ward. I mean, this isn't necessarily playing poorly, it's just kind of what we would call sleeping, you know, was kind of distracted by something or another.
in the beginning, but since then has done an amazing job hitting some great shackle shots, which is just so important. I mean, that's why you pick the Windrunner, right? Because that ridiculous disable. And speaking of disables, I'm actually quite close to getting my Hex now, which is obviously the next item I'm just going to be going for. I'm not going for ult staff or anything like that, because even though we're going for pushing, it's not like we really need the ult staff for pushing. And what we need much more is my basically anywhere on the map disable to try to kill this Queen of Pain and this anti-mage. Looks like I thought it was just the Queen of Pain here, but it actually turns out it's the Queen of Pain and the Ancient Apparition. Juggernaut is going to go in the Ancient Apparition. He's actually going to have to try to ult here, yeah, to stop the TP, which I guess is fine. He's going to be a little disappointed that that's all they were able to get, but still getting 1 for nothing is fine. It's not the longest cooldown ever. I don't think he has an Aghanim's yet, but I assume he's going to make it. Meanwhile, the Enchantress is getting gone on in the mid, so I am going to TP in and try to help out. I should actually sprout one of these heroes here, but I kind of assumed we were outnumbered more than we were, and that the Enchantress would be lower than she was, so that's why I didn't try turning that one around. So that was definitely my mistake. I just kind of misread the situation. We would have been able to turn that at least into 1 kill if I had sprouted one of them. So definitely a mistake there. But anyway, I was kind of saying, yeah, well, be careful, I'm so close to my Hex, I really just want to get this done. So, I mean, that's going to give us, hopefully provide the opening we need to try to turn a gank into a push. So I just don't want to risk getting killed before that by fighting in a position that we're not necessarily optimal in. Still see this anti-mage up here farming, so I'm just going to create my creeps to tank these creeps, or tank the dire creeps so that they don't actually get to our tower. So I just set up my creeps right there. Actually pulling back just a little bit because I want to actually tank the opposing creeps within the tower range. It's going to make it a little more difficult for me to get the last hits, but it's going to push out this wave that much quicker, having that extra DPS on the opposing creeps. And then after I've taken out this creep wave, I am going to go finish up my Hex. Hex probably the most core item possible. Yeah, you can see, if you saw, were wondering what I did by clicking up there, I was just sending my creeps on attack move, on my trees on attack move. So now I kind of have to figure out where I'm going to place the Hex on my bars. I think spacebar is maybe the best choice, yeah. So I decided to end up putting the mech on the other mouse button and spacebar for the Hex. So I'm going to TP in here to where we think the Anti-Mage blinked, and I was completely correct. So the Anti-Mage blinked in, I'm going to Hex him right away and throw out the Sprout so the Leshrac can land an easy stun, but the Leshrac is just a little bit too slow with the stun. I guess overestimated the amount of time the Hex would last for. So unfortunately this is going to lead to a bit of a chase here. I mean, it's very important for us to catch this Anti-Mage, but he actually just has a TP on him and TP's out. So that's unfortunate because that really was the opening that we needed there. Well, it's okay, I've got the Hex still, so there should be other ones that present themselves. Yeah, as I was saying, I mean, Hex, generally speaking, is basically one of the most core items on a Furion. I went mid, and I'm not going a farming build, obviously, on a team against Anti-Mage when we're going for push, so I'm not going anything like Midas, and like I said, the ult staff really isn't that necessary. I can do a good enough job pushing out. I mean, if you've seen it, I'm not really spamming my ult like you would expect pub players to do, because obviously I want the other people on my team to get farm. I'm only using my ult when we're pushing, when we're in team fights, or when the other team's pushing a lane that I want to be able to counter push using my ult. We see the Anti-Mage blink back here, and my team is there, so this is another opportunity for us to go. I go and get the Hex and the Sprout. I use the Sprout, obviously, so that the Windrunner can shackle shot, and just because it makes him stop moving completely, and that is the kill we need on the Anti-Mage. But yeah, so like I'm saying, I go Hex into Sprout, because obviously even with the Hex, they still, and yeah, actually I did use my ult there, I guess. I didn't see if I used it to help get the kill, if that's possible, or just to push out the bottom lane, but I mean, it serves both those functions. I mean, I got it after the kill to help push out the bottom lane. So anyway, the Anti-Mage is dead, so we are going to go try to push in now here. Send the trees in first, tank the tower, the Edict is going to come up, they throw out the wards, and so we're not going to make the same mistake this time, we are just going to back off. Fortunately, not very much Edict damage into the tower, but Edict is a much shorter cooldown than the Serpent wards are. Serpent wards, I think is what they're called. Yeah, so I'm actually just going to TP bottom just to get this lane pushed out again. Just tell my team I'll be back in 20 seconds. Unfortunately, this means that's when the Anti-Mage will be back up. So, like I said, this is kind of effective. I mean, it wastes the ult completely because you're not getting any kills. You're not really doing anything, taking towers or farming Roche or anything with using the Rasta ult like this. But the one thing that it does do is it buys time. I mean, because now the Anti-Mage is back up. So again, we can't just actually push in. In theory, we can't. I mean, maybe we could, but it would be at least a bit more risky. And there's no reason to open ourselves up. I mean, the thing we're doing basically works fine. We just keep all the lanes, just farm all their lanes, so that we have someone in each of their lanes keeping them pushed to their, not even to their half of the map. I would say to their fourth of the map. Like if you look at the map in fourths, like starting from each team's base, and then there's like the other fourth, which is like for each team, which is like up to the river, the jungle area. We basically want their creeps or the creep waves, basically to always be on their fourth of the map, and then we just farm their jungle, and we basically keep vision up with good wards and wait for an opening, get the gank, and then get a kill. So basically, because we have both the lanes pushed up now, and I actually did send one of my trees over here to scout Roche, we know that we can actually take Roche. Unfortunately, I have all my trees set as 2, so they kind of move over here, which might have been a little bit risky and kind of given it away. But we should be able to take this down pretty quickly because Juggernaut has a fair amount of damage, although our ward actually does see them coming, and Roche is still only at half, so this isn't a situation where we want to say, okay, we're just going to take it. I'm actually saying, yeah, if we could come fight here, this would actually be really good for us. I do get the Hex on the Queen of Pain there, because I saw that she was about to blink and wanted the Juggernaut ult to finish, since it might not, or probably wouldn't follow the blink. And then, yeah, just going to say, okay, well, they've backed off, let's go back and take Roche now. Throw out my ult because I see that both, or basically all the lanes are starting to get pushed, and obviously we're going to be in here taking Roche, so we're not going to be able to push the lanes back, so that's a good opportunity to use the ult. Notice that I'm actually not attacking, because there's just the very edge there. The Enchantress still isn't attacking, actually. Haven't sprouted any creeps up again, because it's not really necessary that Roche was already at half health. So now I'm just going to TP back to this bottom lane, and try to push it up again, since my ult didn't really do as effective a job, since I don't have the ult staff. I mean, it did partially what it was supposed to. The lanes didn't push as quickly as they should have, but yeah, and just again, look for another opening. I mean, the Queen of Pain's dead, so we can probably push in the middle a little bit. I just wanted to push this bottom lane, so I'm going to actually TP back to the mid, and yeah, the tower's actually extremely low, so we are going to take this tower. And to actually TP in, the Rasta wards come up though, so I actually just cancel the TP. There's no reason for me to be there because we're just going to back up from the Rasta wards, especially since the Queen of Pain just came up. If a fight does happen, I am going to want to TP in, but nope, it doesn't happen, so again, I can just feel comfortable pushing. I actually see that there's a lot of creeps top, so I should probably be TPing up there right now. Although I guess it looks like we want to maybe consider going for a gank here. That power shot, though, maybe not the best choice since it is going to give away our position, but I guess maybe they won't know for certain. Actually, we see the Queen of Pain over here, so just going to run over. I call out that I'm going to Hex first. The Windrunner does have Orchid, so she can do after that. The Windrunner should just force staff herself in and then Orchid, but actually realized that she can do it just a little bit late. Thought she would, I mean, it's partially my fault because I kind of blocked her, but she could have just force staff and she would have been in there anyway, which is probably what she should have done, but didn't realize she would need to until it was too late, so we're not actually going to catch the Queen of Pain. But again, it's okay. I mean, it's just kind of, you know, people, they just get this kind of an anti-mage panic. Yeah, actually, Queen of Pain ult is going to come out there. Interesting enough, and the Juggernaut actually was able to get a really nice ult on the other team here. Hex is still not up, but I'm just going to sprout the anti-mage, forcing him to blink away. I mean, you know, you might think that the sprout isn't very effective when using the anti-mage, but if I just force out his blink, I mean, that's going to be good enough. Anyway, I back up now. Holy is still up a little bit too far. I mean, we basically should move back here and heal up. So I throw out the Urn Charge on the Windrunner and use the mech on both of us. I wish I could make trees. I think I make that sprout thinking for some reason that I could make trees, but then realized, wait, no, trees are still on cooldown for 20 seconds, or treants are on cooldown for 20 seconds. But it's okay, because 2 of them are still dead, so we are going to be able to push in here. Unfortunately, Leshrac is dead, which means that we're not going to have Edict on the tower, but the Focus Fire from the Windrunner should be enough to take it down. I'm just going to Hex the Shadow Demon here, and just right-click him as much as possible. I should have actually sprouted him. I realized that a little bit too late, but it looks like Holy is going to manage to get the kill him anyway, and then I throw out an ult just because, again, we're in a team fight, and I want to do what damage I can. Windrunner actually orchiding the wrong target there, but it doesn't really matter because Anti-Mage would have just manted out of it, and so I just throw out the sprout on this Rax, because basically we just want to take the Rax now, and yeah, not else, basically much else matters, because that's the whole reason we're in their base. But yeah, so as I was saying, basically it just kind of shows that even when you're against an anti-mage, you don't need to panic. Just be methodical, look for an opening, don't force anything, and basically that's how you win. I mean, the kills were even for most of this game. It's not like we had a really big advantage other than the towers. So we just kind of used the advantage we had and went with it. Shackle Shot launching there. Do anything. I want to get out of this cold feed. Slowed a little bit, but I will easily be able to get out in time. Gonna Hex, yeah, the anti-mage there, because it looked like he wanted to blink. I'm telling the Windrunner to shoot him, and yeah, she does, and so we're going to take him down. So again, just hexing when it looks like someone's going to blink away. Obviously fine, even if it seems like it's almost a little bit wasted, because it's just the very end of basically when someone's getting killed. Obviously it's still effective, it does lead to a kill. And so that's going to be bottom and mid racks, and then we're going to transition towards the top. I'm not sure if we'll be able to take this, because they have 4 up, but the anti-mage is dead, so I mean there's a decent chance. Go up the sprout and send the trees. Always obviously attacking the melee racks first, it's pretty self-explanatory. And yeah, the mech's still not up, but I do have Urn Charges. Obviously quite difficult to use Urn Charges healing-wise when you are against Ancient Apparition. Excuse me. Throw my ult there again because there is some sort of fighting going on, but once again just realize that Holy is too far forward. Obviously doesn't matter at this point because we've taken Mega Creeps. I guess his idea was that he's just distracting them, but still, I mean, if he hadn't run forward, we would have just taken the racks anyway without his sacrifice. Not that it matters, but just a general thing. And yeah, so that's basically how it works. Playing Furion. I mean, it wasn't maybe the best example. Obviously, I didn't really use Earn very effectively into the mid game because, you know, I just had a few more things to worry about. I kind of forget about it, and there were multiple times where I should have Sprouted. I should have just been using Sprout a little bit more aggressively. I mean, Sprout does have a pretty significant mana cost, but so in the mid game, it's kind of a little bit to justify, but you don't really have a ton that uses mana in actual team fights, so it's kind of alright to use it, and you have a pretty huge mana pool. So I mean, it's acceptable. To basically use it anytime you think there's an opportunity. And like I said, even against Blink Heroes, it's fine because it forces them to basically, if you Sprout a Blink Hero, it's unlikely that they're going to blink back further forward. What they're going to have to do is they're actually going to have to blink backwards, which is going to get them out of position for a little bit. So, I mean, just using Sprout on basically anyone is fine. And then, yeah, again, basically anytime there's a team fight, throwing your ult out to an opposing lane, ideally, although it depends how many creeps are around, sometimes just throwing the ult out near you so that it hits all the enemies in the team fight is fine as well. And again, go for mech if no one else on your team is going to make it quickly. Force Staff is also acceptable. I mean, these are just, Force Staff is just an awesome item in general. I didn't actually go for it this time, but it's awesome because it gives you everything you need. Intelligence, damage, attack speed, and then an awesome ability. But in this case, since I went for the mech, I didn't go for the Force Staff, and then just went into the Hex because of how important Hex would be. I could have considered going for an Orchid as well. Orchid would have been pretty decent, as the Windrunner obviously went for against 2 Blink Heroes. But in this case, I was just happy to go for the Hex instead. Hex is just basically a more complete version of the Orchid. And yeah, just throw out an ult here, and I guess I'm going to consider TPing in. They've taken a lot of creeps into here. Juggernaut, yeah, going to use his ult. I think he has an Aghanim, so this is going to be quite a long ult. See if we can wipe all of them. Yeah, Juggernaut does like a triple kill before the Ancient actually goes down. So that's that. That's basically a game with Furion. There are obviously things that could have been done better, my early skill builds and stuff like that, but this should give you kind of a basis for how to play Furion in the solo mid, which, again, Furion jungling is probably the worst version of Furion, Furion side lane or Furion mid. I mean, Furion side lane can obviously transition to jungling anyway, so, I mean, that's perfectly reasonable, but still I would say those are the 2 most reasonable, or normal ways to do it. But when I'm playing pubs, obviously I play jungling Furion a lot just because I'm lazy and don't want to have to interact with the rest of my team. But yeah, so that's basically how it should be done-ish. Well, I don't know, I shouldn't really say that. How it should be done, that seems such like an egotistical thing. But in general, I hope you guys enjoyed, and just, if possible, give feedback on those 2 things. One about how long into the banning and picking phase in CM games you want me to start up, if it's fine to start up in the beginning, if you'd rather me wait for a few picks and then try to catch up what I'm talking about, if you guys really don't want to see basically any of the banning and picking, and then also whether if seeing a replay like this is fine, or you want it to be perfectly, or normally recorded first-person video, frapsing while I play, and then me talking over it later on. So, yeah, anyway, once again, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and yeah, have a nice day.